Do you want these blinds open? More light or?
No, it looks good.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I'm live in a studio, social distance. New t-shirt on, weird angle, but welcome everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Andrew, welcome. Team David Meltzer, can you hear me okay? Let's get that team pinned up. Look at that. We're getting on the same page. It's a miracle. All right, let's start. Let's get some stuff going here today. Let's get some questions. Let's get people live. Coming on. Welcome, Brooke. Thank you. Thank you, Blaine. Welcome, Jeremy. Thank you. Getting gray. I'm going to get a little camouflage going. What's up, Alex? Thanks you very much. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. We are killing it on the coaching. Looks like we're not able to connect there. Let's get a question going. Office open. No, my office is not open, but I'm in the studio. I'm going to be filming for Collision today. They're doing the first virtual. I had like 100,000 people at Collision. Let's see how many come online for Collision. Advice on leaving a really toxic relationship. Advice on leaving a toxic relationship. What you want to do is leave with understanding and happiness, right? So it doesn't mean it's about the other person. It's about you. So make it about you, be accountable, and explain to the person that, and I had to do this when, I went through my own transformation. I went to some of my friends and said, man, this is not about you. It's about me. And I don't like myself when I'm around you. And please don't take it personally. I pray for your happiness, and I appreciate you and whatever I can do to be of service, but I'm not going to be hanging out with you anymore. That's the best piece of advice that I can give for that. And working on that. Anyway, what's up? Why do you think customers ask for discounts from your point of view? Always three reasons: time, emotion, and value. Most of the time it's value. If you have credibility and you're able to tell people specifically, hey, you're going to make $100 if you give me 20, they won't ask for a discount. So you're not doing a great enough job articulating either one, your credibility, two, you don't have a great enough emotional attachment, or three, you haven't quantified the reasons that you're going to make $100. You haven't quantified the impact of that $100, and you haven't quantified the capability combined with the emotional attachment and credibility in order to effectuate that. Why do customers think, I pushed it through. Let's see what other questions we have here. How to manifest opportunities to leave a toxic household, even when negative energies affect you. Toxic households. So take accountability for a toxic household, right? Create boundaries, create values, create philosophies, shift the energy for yourself and for others. And, either take the people that are toxic out of the environment, or if possible, take yourself out of the environment if you cannot create a level playing field, a synergistic, value-based energy in the place. How do you know if your first relationship is the one? Started in high school and been 2 years now, but no one to compare them to. Well, you don't have to compare. If you're happy, right? If you're in a happy, healthy relationship, stay in the happy, healthy relationship. Don't worry about, the grass is greener on the other side. You still got to water that grass. It all depends too, according to your personal experiential giving and receiving values. If you want to experience other relationships, then that's your prerogative. But I'm a big believer of happy, healthy relationships. Some first relationships last. Statistically, understanding and having other relationships and other capabilities and experiences help as well. So just know your values, but, please value a healthy, happy relationship if you're in one. What's the strategy on launching a podcast and book at the same time? My strategy on launching a podcast and book at the same time, great idea, right? You're talking about lessons and stories. And if you have a great enough vibration, if you have a frequency, if you have value, you should be distributing on every platform, podcast, Instagram, LinkedIn, books, whatever you can, sharing your message. So absolutely. That's, I think, understanding your lessons, your frequency, the strength of your signal, the spectrum that you're trying to reach, which is the grouping of people that you're trying to reach. What do you think about being strict with the oneselves to not, hold on a second, these are great questions, by the way. What do you think of being strict with oneself to not fall into pleasures and be responsible? I think your wording and your identities are mixed up a little bit. So you're talking about being disciplined with things that are aligned with your values. Pleasures, right? I get pleasure taking out the trash. Responsibility is different than accountability. So we're talking about discipline and habits, and finding pleasure, light, love, and lessons in everything. That's where I think you need to do your work, and that's what I would work on if I were you. Let's see if we want to go live with somebody real quick. See if they have a question. Anybody want to go live? Let me do it. We'll see. Dun, 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 dun. What do you think? Hold on, I'm gonna try to go live. Good morning, everyone. Carlos, welcome. Good to you. Hey,
David,
how are you?
how are you?
I'm great. You got a question for me, Dan?
At first I was not prepared for this, but if I were to ask you a question right now, Dave, it was, how do you come back to center every time? I know you practice it across the board every single day, and we're not perfect. I try to humble myself and take into account of exactly what you say, and I can't always do the things I teach. I believe it was something along those lines.
Yeah, for sure.
How do you come back to that center all the time?
So I think it's a timing, right? You're going to come back to center. It's how much time does it take to get back to center,
Yeah.
right? So once you realize, all right, I'm on the practice of stop, drop, and roll, right? I'm on the practice of identifying when I'm in an ego-based consciousness, when I'm creating interference in my life, when I'm creating corrosion in my life, when I'm drawing from the light, love, and lessons that I've learned instead of sucking in the light, love, and lessons. And number one, when I identify that, can I, with that ferociousness, stop, right? Not accelerate in the wrong direction, but stop. And then comes the point that you're making. It's hard enough just to stop. Then it's even harder to learn the practice of dropping down into center, into neutral, right? It's even harder to do. It's like you're in a drag race. When you're in ego-based consciousness, you're in a drag race in the wrong direction. And then how do I blow up that big chute behind me? And then while I'm blowing up the chute behind me, how long does it take me to get into neutral and be able to coast and see what's going on around me so that I can turn any which direction in the trajectory or in the direction I want to? And so I think the key component for you, Dan, is just timing. Having the certainty that, hey, I'm going to get back to center. Let me just be cognizant or conscious about, all right, it's going to take me a year. Oh, it's going to take me a month. Oh, this one takes me a week or a day or a minute or a moment. And that's where I've been the last, 13, 14 years, seeing how long and being competitive like I am. My competitiveness is in the pursuit of my potential. My potential exists in how quickly I can get to that center. Does that sound fair?
It always sounds fair, especially when you put it into terms like that.
Right on.
And do you ask yourself certain questions of how, like, during that time you feel yourself, that temperature rising, right?
I ask myself why. That's, I'm a what person at the beginning of the day. What do I want? Is it aligned with my inventory of values, right? Using the techniques that I do. But when I'm in ego-based consciousness, practicing just saying why, because fear is the primary ego, right? The primary ego. Then asking yourself why will give you the secondary, the need to be right, the need to be offended, separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry, guilty. And you start identifying, wow, these things like guilt, it interferes with what I want. Resentment interferes with what I want. Offense, attacking thoughts interfere. Judgments, conditions, separateness interferes with what I want. Why am I interfering with what I want? Because at the beginning of the day, I thought about what I wanted. It was aligned with my values. I was in a good place when I thought about it. Now I'm actually going in the wrong direction. This doesn't make sense.
Right.
And the more we practice it, the quicker it all kind of becomes your conscious, subconscious, and unconscious continuum.
And it's been working too. The second your feet hit the ground and just saying thank you and being grateful. I think I'm on day 20.
That's pretty good, man. It took me 9 months to get to 30 straight days. So keep up the good work. I appreciate all your support, buddy.
David, thank you very much for your time.
Anytime, Danny. I'll see you soon.
Cheers.
Cheers. Good. That was really good stuff. Let's get back to questions. Best morning routine to help stay inspired. So, morning routine to me is waking up at the same time every day, unless I have to have an adaptable routine because things are different. 20 minutes of meditation allows me to find my highest frequency and then being able to get ready to spend time on my health. And I go ahead and spend a minimum hour on my health, and then doing research, including and always, which is always the most difficult, being a student in your calendar. People don't pay attention or give intention to the coincidences they want, period. They don't. In my own office, in my own life, I don't know why, but they just won't believe Uncle David that you need to study your calendar. And I see the effects of it all day long in my business, in my life. I know how challenging it is, but you got to do it. And then, of course, then you execute on it, studying your calendar. Then at the end of the day, having a routine to, once again, 2 hours to spend time with my family, a routine to wind down, a routine to do more research and be a student in my calendar again. When I say do research, it's, being more interested than interesting, finding out what I'm doing in business and in life, reading, writing, but most importantly, at least 10 minutes a day on being a student in my calendar, in the morning and at night, in the morning with my family and at night, turning everything off and giving the minimum amount of time. Whenever you have your routine, remember 2 minutes a day is worth more than 2 hours on a Saturday. So that means 20 minutes a day is worth more than 20 hours on a Saturday. What type of meditation do you do in the morning for 20 minutes? I do theta meditation, Theta. Dr. Sangeeta Sahi is my guru and teacher on YouTube. You can go ahead and Google it. I am not a great professor or teacher of it, but I am a great practitioner as a quantum healer. It has changed my life. Go ahead, let's see. Next question. Thank you, everybody. Keep these questions coming. How to stay consistent? I know my goals, I know my values, but I find it hard to stay consistent. I always get in my own way, I think it says there. So consistency is a matter of time, right? So if somebody does something once every 10 years, they're consistent. They consistently do it every 10 years. So number one is put yourself into a mindset of how and what period of time am I going to be consistent in? Is this something I do 3 days a week? Is it 1 day a week? Is it every hour? Is it something I do every minute? Whatever it is. And I think a lot of times people don't get set on the what, and they set off on an adventure without having all the independent and dependent variables set. So one thing to do is ask yourself, what type of consistency am I working towards? What is my potential? And then creating the habit is starting, number one, by lowering the bar. And so, maybe just looking at the word, if it's something that you want to be consistent with every 3 days, just look at the word of doing it and see where that takes you. Nothing's going to happen until you move, until you start. So go ahead and look at that and see how that affects you. Okay. But time is definitely one of the nuances. How to manage your academics with your self-investment, personal development. They're both the same, right? For me, everything's the same as far as investing in myself. There is no sacrifice. Everything I do, academics, athletics, family, they're all investments in myself. Don't create separation. They're improving yourself according to your personal, experiential, giving and receiving values. I want to get phone numbers of every single person of my city. You told to Google it, but I was unable to find. Please tell me, where can I get this? Did you look at the white pages and yellow pages of your city? That seems to be the greatest aggregate of phone numbers that are available. It's the best piece of advice that I have. You may want to also call your city. Go ahead and call the city hall, and they're not as busy right now, and give them a call and say, hey, is there a consensus phone directory somewhere? If they tell you differently than the white pages and yellow pages, let me know. I'd love to know what resources are out there. So thank you for that's a great question. And there we go. Here we go. How to protect business name, trademark, and get a lawyer. That's an easy one. Thank you. There we go. Advice on building a new relationship with someone, as far as approach and how to keep her interested in me. All right. So 5 to thrive. All relationships are developed in the system of 5 to thrive. 1, stimulate interest, right? Using your credibility, emotional attachment, quantify the reasons that you'd be a great relationship, the impact on the relationship, the capabilities you have for the relationship, overall impact. And then, some of your features and benefits, personality traits, characteristics, obsessions, and addictions. Always try to pursue the truth and be as honest as you can from the start. But after you stimulate interest, transition that interest, and see what commonalities you have. That's called a shared vision. And then start making plans together when you build a relationship. Create what I call a go, no go plan. Hey, would you like to do this? Then if we like that, we could go do this. If you like that, we could go do this. And slowly but surely, you build a relationship that thrives. 5 to thrive works not only in business, but in your personal relationships as well. Do you think there's a difference between investing for success and taking care of your soul? How do you feed your soul? I don't think there's a difference. Feeding your soul is working within the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious continuum. Feeding the soul, is absolutely realizing that you're always connected to the greatest source of light, love, lessons, and that comes through you with appreciation, gratitude, and your responsibility, accountability to add value, and that you're connected to everyone else. And feeding that soul allows you consciously to pick and choose, using the inventory of your values, personal, experiential, giving and receiving values, using that in order to determine, what do I want to do today? What do I want to do today? Learn, eat, active, whatever it is. What do I want out of this day? Then from there, conscious, go to the subconscious and see which ones sit in the 40,000 of the same thoughts that I have that I access, and then go to the unconscious to see what frequency I'm going to carry for the future. All of these are the exact way in which we feed the soul, and it is not separate from investing in yourself at all, as you can see by how it works. And working with my prototype and have my IP. I've got final. All right. Get a lawyer. Do you meditate, and for how long? Yes, 20 minutes a day. Theta meditation. Check it out. THETA. I encourage everyone to find some peace in their life, to be a ferocious Buddha. Ferocious in stopping from being an ego-based consciousness, and a Buddha by breathing and finding center and neutrality. How do you know if your first relationship is the one? Started in high school, but we already talked about that. It could be and it couldn't be. You never know, by the way. Any relationship is the one, but you got to know if you're happy and healthy. Hey, Jeff. All I got is a Dave there, my friend. So let's keep the questions coming, everybody. Thank you so much. How do you personally think you find self-love? That's a lifelong journey, most important journey. You can't give what you don't have. So self-love is so important. So making sure that you love yourself. And so utilizing the practice of what you want to develop and finding the percentage of stuff that you don't like and learning to love it. Learning to love the things you don't like about it. Recognizing what we don't like about ourselves is very difficult, and admitting it is even harder. And so through that practice, you need to learn to love you. You can't give what you don't have. Those people that love themselves have much stronger relationships. And it's not egotistical or narcissist. It's ability to allow that love to come through you with appreciation for others. Any advice on how to deal with unwanted negative thoughts? Yes, I use a method called cancel, clear, and connect. So when I have negative thoughts, I cancel them. I literally in my mind say cancel. Out loud, I'll say cancel. If someone thinks, says, or does something negative, I say cancel. If it keeps coming back, I know it's part of my subconscious, so I clear it. That's where I become more ferocious and become a Buddha. And I breathe through my nose, out through my mouth in order to find that center to clear that. If it still doesn't clear, I know it's in my unconscious, and then I use something called Connect. You can reach out to me at david@dmeltzer.com. Also, reach out if you guys want to come to my free trainings, 11 a.m. every Friday, or get the replay from me. Go ahead and email me at david@dmeltzer.com. More than happy to give you some sheets on that, worksheets, etc. So go ahead, reach out. Love to see you on Fridays as well. If you were 28 and had 100,000 and wanted to invest in real estate, would you buy something small, your own 100%, or seek a partner? Just depends, right? I'd seek mentorship. That's what I'd seek. I'd seek someone that sits in the situation I want to be in. I'd seek someone that is in the area and in the investment arena and spectrum that I want to invest in, and I'd ask for help and see exactly who they think or if they think I should partner, and when things are overbought, whether it's a multi-unit, whether it's an individual resident, whether it's an office building, what type of leverage I can get as a first-time buyer. All these different things have been done and will be done, and there's mentorship for it. There's expertise for it within your exact area and circumstance. So, don't call some person in Florida if you live in California, right? Go to the exact neighborhood that you're thinking about investing in. Go to the exact type of investment. These people are extremely gracious in real estate to help because everyone's been there before. You don't have to pay the dummy tax yourself. Go ahead. Let's see here. Answer some more questions here. Oops. There we go. How do you prevent your mind from getting back to the comfort zone? Well, first of all, knowing the 3 different zones and being able to identify what activity falls within which zone. So we have a comfort zone, which is an area where everything is comfortable, where you don't have to think about it. I always use riding a bike as an example. Outside the comfort zone, the next concentric circle outside of that comfort zone is a learning zone. That's where we want to be. That's where I spend my time, from 6:30 to 7:30 every day, doing research, being a student of my calendar, learning, asking, being more interested, asking for help, asking how I can be of service or value, asking if other people, all of those things are in the learning zone. Then outside the learning zone is the anxiety zone. Now we want to press upon when we enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of our potential, we're in the learning zone, in the outer skirts of the learning zone, expanding, accelerating at such a small rate that we normally can't even pick it up with our senses. Very rarely can we, because we can't see, hear, taste, smell, all those different things well enough to see the incremental growth and acceleration that we have. We also can't remember where we were because our memories are also faulty. But if we stay out of the anxiety zone, pretty soon our learning zone becomes what used to make us anxious. Our learning zone becomes the size of the anxiety zone, and our comfort zone becomes the size of our learning zone. And this is how we expand and accelerate. So if you're not learning, accelerating, growing, if you're not feeling what? Feeling pain. That's how we know we're in the learning zone. And when we feel pain, that's how we know where the line between the learning zone and the anxiety zone is. Pain is an indicator. That's all it is. It's an indicator that mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, you have a lesson to learn. In other words, go back to the learning zone and learn it. Go back to the learning zone, right? If we keep pounding our head against the wall and get the same pain, pretty soon our anxiety zone becomes the size of what used to be the learning zone. The learning zone now is the size of the comfort zone, and the comfort zone shrinks even smaller. So learn the continuum of the comfort zone, the learning zone, and the anxiety zone. Learn that pain is only an indicator. Pain is an indicator that you have a lesson to learn. The lessons keep on coming until you learn them. We are going to forget every lesson we ever learned, but we have the power to access or remember those lessons at any time. So pain to me is just an indicator. And when I get excited, when there's mental, physical, spiritual, emotional pain, because it means I'm just on the crust of the learning zone, and now I have a lesson to learn. But I don't fight it and shrink it down and just stay in the anxiety zone. I go be a ferocious Buddha. I stop, drop, and roll into the learning zone and ask for help or figure out how I can learn the lesson I'm supposed to learn. How do you feel about investing in tax lien certificates? I don't feel anything about it. So if that's something that I want to invest in, I will find 3 experts in it, ask questions, and see how it compares to other things that I'm doing. What are some ways you relieve your stress? Stop, drop, and roll. That's how I relieve my stress. I stop, ask myself, why do I feel this way? And then I breathe deep through my nose, out through my mouth until I find center. And then if pain is still there, then I try to find the answer so that the pain goes away. Mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and financial pain. I try to find those answers to make them go away. Dave, I'm looking for a good civil rights attorney. You got any recommendations? Yes, email me, david@dmeltzer.com. More than happy. I got a few, and you could choose. So not a problem. Once again, trainings are free on Friday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. If you don't catch it, we have the replays also for free. So please check it out. This week, it's going to be motivation versus inspiration. Motivation versus inspiration. And we're going to show you how to do both and how they're different and how you live your life within the context of both. So let's go take a few more questions as well. What's the best kind of motivation? Running towards or from? So the best kind of motivation is one that gives you energy, not fear, right? Fear is a motivator that sucks your energy. The best type of motivation is inspired motivation. It's a blend of being able to be connected and clearing the connection or interference, something that motivates you when you're clearing the corrosion, not running away. That motivation is still motivation. It's just going to suck your soul dry. It's like a tank of gas that runs out. An inspired motivation is one that you're refilling the tank as you're going towards something that's going to get you there. Yes, pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional, right? That's that perspective of finding the light, love, and lessons and everything. That's the ferocious Buddha. Have you reached your 20-year-old dream and did it feel like you thought it would? Yes, I did. I reached my 20-year-old dream at 24. I was a millionaire and I bought my mom a house. And I will tell you, at that moment, it felt unbelievably good. But it was short term because I connected my emotions to an outcome. I connected my happiness to one specific outcome. And then when it was over, I was empty and shallow and looked for the next outcome. And it kept this vicious cycle going instead of learning to enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential. Without attaching my emotions to an outcome, my happiness to one specific outcome. That may or may not ever come, but instead enjoying and finding the light, the love, and the lessons, enjoying the pursuit of my potential. So looking towards that. Let's see here. What do you think the best approach is when living with a father that disapproves your curiosity for astrology? I think that's minor, right? I mean, that's awesome. So your father doesn't like astrology. So what I would do is ask him and understand why. Right? Astrology seems like something arbitrary to disapprove of. So I'd love to learn why and understand why they don't like it. And a lot of times people don't like what they don't understand. And the best part is if they still don't approve of it or like astrology or think it's worth anything, then very simply pray for his happiness. And doesn't mean that my mom doesn't like football. I played football all the way through college. I chose my college to play football. All my other siblings went to the Ivy Leagues and did what they did, but I didn't ask her. Right? I just understand why she doesn't like football because she was afraid that I would get hurt. I appreciate that. So it made me, even love her more. Didn't make her love football anymore. And I appreciated that. And I made a conscious decision to play and, blessed that everything turned out okay. Shane Victorino, I am here. There we go. Let's join. Gotta love Shane Victorino because he played for the Padres for like 30 games. That makes him one of my favorite players just off the bat. Hey,
What's on, man?
how are you?
All is well. I got zero complaints. Just like living life like everybody else,
Yeah, I like that poster behind you.
Oh, appreciate it. Yeah, that was painted for me back in the day.
That's sweet.
Good old days.
Anyway, what do you got going on?
Nothing much, man. Honestly, just, like everybody else, figuring and navigating through life, walking away from baseball and being in retirement. First couple of years, you try to figure out what it is that you want to do. And, for me, I don't miss the game of baseball itself. I don't miss the logistics. I miss the camaraderie, but having this kind of stuff now, being able to get on an IG and go live and, basically share your story like you'd be doing, in the back, something we would probably do anyway,
Yeah.
So it's, just going through all those things in life.
This is our new locker room, man. I get to
Right.
sit next to you, man. How cool is that?
No, it's all good, bro. It's a big locker room, put it that way, which is great. You can make that greater impact instead of just, kind of sheltering to the ones that you play with every day.
Yeah, it's so sweet. One of the things that I'm trying to help people with is, and baseball players are great at this, because I don't think people can appreciate what baseball players do for a profession, right? They see you play and they don't realize how many games you actually play. They don't realize what you're doing before, during, and after the games. They don't realize before the regular season and what the postseason does for you. And, that you have a family normally. At least you have, even if you're not married with kids, you have your own family. You got your own mom, your own dad. And, and just, it's amazing, because the analogy I use is everybody's life is the same. Right? We all have these moments that we love. We wouldn't even have to pay, like we would pay to do it, right? There's certain things about being a baseball player that you would pay to do. There's certain things in go to law school. When I went to law school, there's certain things I would have paid to do. Well, I actually did pay to go. That sucked. But there's actually things that were worth it. But the part that I love for you to talk about is, there's a whole bunch of things that you don't want to do. Right, that you don't love to do about baseball, and you really start realizing when you retire. But how did you learn to balance loving, what you do so much, but also learning to love some really, hard and difficult lessons that you were learning?
I think the first question is, I was surrounded by the ones that allowed me to be me, and it helped. I didn't have distractions. I didn't have as the horror stories be told of family members asking for this and expecting this, and, somebody from your childhood. And, I think it's my upbringing, going back to my roots, and growing up in a place like Hawaii, where everything is so family oriented, and, it's all about respect. It's all about understanding that. So through my career, the hardest parts of my time, I always had those around me that told me the right things or motivated me the right way, and basically treated me like I was that kid that grew up as a little boy. Like, they never changed that fluctuation of me. Even when I go back home in Maui, like, to every human being, to aunties and uncles and grandmas and grandpas who I, grew up basically around, I'm still that little boy. So I think those are the kind of teams that I think I tell people. It's being grounded, staying, to me close to God, and understanding my roots and all those kind of things. And hey, everybody has their own identity of what they believe in, but always believe that someone is bigger and better, has a better understanding and grasp of your life as a whole. And I think through a lot of my challenging times, I trusted in what I believed in and said, hey, I need help, or I need to, need that aspect. So the beginning part of the game, that was the easy part. The toughest part was, like you said, being away from your family, not being with them every day, picking up and being on a plane every 3 days. People say, well, you travel in luxury and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm great. I understand that. I take that zero for granted about my career, and I appreciate that as an athlete. I was able to, rely and have that kind of service in life to understand what hard work actually pays off in the end. But breaking it down even more, it's like, at the end of the day, like, being away and traveling and doing all those kind of things, it was not fun. It was draining. I simply say this to any human being that asked me about baseball. I said, hey, if I can tell you, you go to work 365 days a year, how many times do you show up to work? Just you tell me a number, in your opinion, what you think in a 365 day, of your year, how much times do you show up to your job? And, most of them say, well, maybe half, or maybe, this time. I say, well, I play 162 games, okay? So, and that's just the regular season. That's not even when the big boys come out to play, when you talk about postseason, like you said, and the big boys really come out to play, and the lights come on, and you're shining, and every light's on you. Now it's a whole different monster, but I think I put two and two together. I went back, even in those moments, in the shittiest times and the happiest times. Like, think about that little boy that grew up in the island of Maui, that had 7,000 people in his little hometown, like, in the most isolated place in the world. How do I not understand, how lucky I was? And again, giving everything you got, leaving it all out there. Like, hey, if I ran into the wall and gave 100% every single night, You could question me, Dave. My parents would question me. My son will ask, hey, Dad, how come you struck out 3 times tonight? He's innocent. He doesn't know. All he sees is what happens. And I said, son, Dad gave 100%. That's all I can do. As long as I know I poured my heart into it, everybody's going to have their opinion. So I think all these kind of little calculations that you take into it, that's what made me go through the game, and that's what's made me help come out on the other side of the game, truthfully.
Yeah, you know what else is interesting? Been blessed to travel the world, and Hawaii especially, Fiji, Australia. There's certain places that I've traveled, they just have a different frequency, you know. and you know, and I was born in Akron, Ohio, and there's a different frequency when you're born into a certain place, and then you go travel other places. But it's almost inherent in your being, like you feel differently, even though you're traveling to New York City. You're still a Samoan, or you know, you got this energy that's different, and it stands out. And I see a lot of people, instead of, you know, in developing their own frequency and trusting, like you said, having faith that's a God-given strength. It's a light in you. They try to go ahead and share other people's light and try to be like them instead of, you know, that frequency. How important and how I think conscious are you? Because you carry a different energy, right? Like the minute you came on, I'm like, this guy knows his stuff. And it's the way I felt like, especially I just went to Fiji last year. I was like, the minute I got off the plane, I was like, oh, I like this place. You know, this has this vibe. Maui's the same way. You know, what consciously do you like get into these stressful situations, say, you know what, I'm still that guy from the 7,000, the small little island that I'm from?
I mean, it really is. I mean, you know, you're lucky for me, David. I'll break it down like this: is I have my family still yet. My mom, my dad, you know, my loved ones, my brothers, my wife, the ones that are close to me. Now, as life moves on, when are we going to go in the evolution of that and all that stuff? That's the biggest challenge in life. I tell myself, like I said in the beginning, is like they've been my supporting cast. A lot of time when you lose your supporting cast, it's your hardest challenge that you go through. So to still have them and understand that, to me, breaking it down to that evaluation again, like you said, is like, go back to that little boy, like, you know, that played in against my wall every single day, that whatever ball that was out there, whether it be a soccer ball, had a tennis ball, whatever, I would kick it against the wall. I wouldn't be playing, you know, unfortunately in today's time. And my son, he's a 9-year-old. He loves Fortnite. He'll play it for, you know, he'll sit in the room for 12 hours if I let him. And, you know, and I get it. I'm not saying that's right. That's not wrong. I said, you know, my wife said it to me today. She goes, you were brought up differently, Shane. Like, gaming wasn't your thing. Unfortunately, that's your son's thing, and it's a way. So you got to kind of adapt and love because it's going to be a passion of his. But again, coincided with his career and his job. So I think that's the kind of stuff and what he's going to be in life and the boy that I wanted to him. I think more importantly, ultimately, it's about respect, David. I think if I respect the next person, I hope that you respect me the same. Like, you know, I tell people, I'll talk to anybody. I mean, a guy sitting on a wall sometimes, you know, and when I was going to my therapy sessions, I would tell my therapist, I said, you know, hey, you know, Dr. Karam, I would sit here and I sit on the corner and I come up to a light and I see that gentleman or that, you know, female sitting on the street with a sign and holding it. And I start yelling internally, like, you get off your butt and like, go do something. And then the other side of me says, you know what, they might have a mental, you know, something might be going on where they don't even, you know, it's bigger than just, you're just looking. And I'm not saying it negative. I'm saying it because how can I help you? It's like, I want to roll down my window and be like, bro, allow me to tell you that if you can tell me you can get off your butt, I will help you go get a job. But it's hard because, you know, at the end of the day, when you look at the scenario, it's really not that simple. And so I think that's the part in life is like my therapist said, is that you can't judge everybody. Like my opinion on how I look at life and how I basically achieve my pinnacle or was basically hard work, respect, and give it your all. So when I look at that person that's on the corner or that bum on the street that I want to go have a conversation with, because you know what, every 10 people walk by, not one person said hi to that person. And I really think he just wants to, or she wants somebody to talk to. And if she doesn't, or he doesn't, they're going to let you know. And half the time I'll sit there, my wife's be like, what are you doing? I'm like, babe, the guy just really simply wanted to have a conversation. Like, and I think that's the part in life. You say, go back to what I was. I grew up in a loving environment. Like everybody loved each other. There was no, you knew your neighbor. You knew your 50 neighbors down the street. You actually knew, again, I grew up in 7,000 people. I mean, yeah. I saw every single person at a high school football game or a soccer game, or, you know, and it's ever revolving. So I think in the big picture, those kind of things all helped me because I went back to being that little boy that grew up on a little island where, like, bro, life is simple. Like, really, what you have and the nice car and the beautiful home and these podcasts and these conversations that you have to make influence on people. 20 years ago, bro, or 30 years ago when you were a little boy, this wasn't an imagination. Like, you dreamed of it. You saw it on TV and you watched The Last Dance and Michael Jordan. And you said, like, bro, yeah, I was a kid going, I wanted to be like Michael. Like, how can I be like that? Or I wanted to be like that image on TV. So what helped me through those times, like you said in the question, is basically breaking it down to that being that little boy that knew what I knew most. And that's my roots. And I think, like, now in life, in business, and what I'm getting into and all these ventures post baseball, it's like the heart's no different. It's like you still that little kid. You know, I have a high school diploma. I didn't go get a college degree. I went on to play professional sports. But I tell people, my 15 years in my career at the highest level, my life experiences, taught me so much about business and life. It is the most amazing thing that I tell people. It's like I learned on the go. Yeah, I might not sit there and look at a doc and be able to read from A to Z, but I can promise you I can hire someone who can help me analyze that situation. So even in these things, it's taking that formulation of that little boy and keeping it, that energy, that positive environment. And I think that is not what happens in today's world. It really not. And I see it in my own ventures. Like, it's like, bro, we got to take a deep breath. We're okay. We're going to get through this. If we fight and we break down now, this paycheck will never come. And why you're stressing right now is because you're relying on a paycheck. So when that situation happens, just like me in a baseball game, people say all the time, like, oh, you must have been nervous, Shane. You know, when the game, I said, people, like, I picked up my batting gloves. I put them on. I looked at the guy on the mound and go, bro, I'm prepared. Okay, what's in front of me now? What situation? Is it bases loaded? Is it nobody on? Do I got a bunt? Do I got to move the guy over? These are all the things that I'm analyzing from the second I pick up my bat. And not even that, just dissecting the whole game. But ultimately, again, reminding myself as a little boy that grew up and said, bro, everything that you've overcome in life is basically hanging your nuts out of your pants and saying, you know what, I'm going to go do it. If I fail, I'm going to pick my feet back up and I'm going to try on and go again and do the next thing. So those are all formulated by the roots, like you said, David, of that little boy. And again, my brother says, God bless you with that. So let's not, forget about that fate that is blessing you more than you really think you are. Because at the end of the day, we really have somewhat of a control, but we really don't, David, especially in this time. Look at what's happening with this coronavirus. Okay, government shut down, stay inside. People are panicking after being in the house for 60 days. Like, I've been going for 39 years of my life, full speed. No one's told me no. Well, so for 60 days, I'm like, and everybody around you like, oh my God, I got to get out. I'm like, bro, let's hit your button, whatever age you are now, okay? Formulate that minus 60 days, really. Because only 60 days in your life you've ever had someone actually tell you what you had to do. I mean, and I get it. I'm there too. I'm about as cooped up as a being as wants to be outside, but it's understanding life and where we got to slow down, I think, more importantly, and help get through things where people struggle with in life. Yeah, people get faster when that moment happens. You know what I mean, David? I'm sure you've been there. When that moment where you're sitting there, you're taking that bar and you got to pass, what happens? You're probably shaking and you're probably like, I tell people it's nerves. That's good energy. I want that. You want that energy, bro. You don't want to be like, maybe some people do. I don't. I was a full energy guy. And at least guys that I played with, when we went into our biggest moments, we were full of energy. We weren't like bumps on a log.
Right. Yeah, I know a lot to unpack there, but especially with our kids, right? Because it's that little boy in you. And then I have a 10-year-old, Fortnite, blessed, and trying to give him options. And I let him be. Like, I'll say to him, hey, you want to, and it always surprises me. We're somewhere, I'll say, want me to time you how fast you can run from here to here while he's playing, right? And I'll be surprised when he's like, yeah. And then he'll do it like 10 times, or I'll say, this morning, hey, I'm 5:45. You want to run 3 miles with me? And, I was kind of joking, and he got really excited. So I think, as that parent, I own an esport team, so I'm very supportive of him. I wouldn't own the team, but for him telling me how big it was 3 years ago, I had no clue. But moreover, I think we also, as parents, like you said, is, at least give them the option. I don't push anything on my kids, but you have said one thing, and then I'll let you go. We grow up a certain way as young kids with this great support staff. And it's not monetary, right? All the things you never said, oh, my parents had a shitload of money and that's how I made it. You weren't Johnny Manziel, right? Literally, you said, look, I had the support. But the interesting thing is the toughest transition in my life was because I did have such a strong mom. I had amazing siblings, aunts and uncles, and, no money, but that didn't matter. But my transition into being the support, right? That to me, because now I had high expectations. It's like having your dad be a major leaguer. You probably don't want to play baseball because, you don't want to compete with that. I sometimes felt the same way. The support staff is like, oh my God, can I live up to what everybody did for me, for them? And through my 30s, I went through a little transition because I tried to buy, buy that support instead of doing what I should be doing. What my mom taught me to do was to be there, the connected love, the humble existence that you've shown. What's one piece of advice though for people that are in this pause, that you think could really help them, because you have a great perspective on life?
Man, I truly believe, I mean, I think simply as breaking it down, like I said, it's been 60 days, people. Like, I understand people have lost their jobs. People are going hungry. I joined initiatives myself because I understand the bigger picture, and I'm trying to put my own liquidity into helping these kind of things and these initiatives, because this is what it's all about. And I think for me, the other side I want to tell people is like, my parents always told me when I was a little kid, there's always someone out there that's got it worse than you. And that was a simple verbiage that I lived every day, no matter when I got to my pinnacle and as high as I was. And sometimes that brat that comes out of me because I worked my ass off and I want to be the brat and I want to be that guy. And then I say to myself, bro, you don't know who that person is and what you're impacting. So someone always has it worse than you. So if you think you got it bad, take a step back. Maybe pick up the phone and technology and look at that picture, that image that someone that's got is worse than you. And I think that stuck with me a lot of part of my life too, is that always remember, someone has it worse than you out there. And if it's at that point, pick up the phone, call somebody, make that moment, don't give in, man. I mean, I get it. It's not easy. People say, you get it. And I say, I get it a lot. I don't get it. I get it, people. Believe me, I grew up from parents that worked 2 jobs, that 5 o'clock in the morning, I get up and I go to get ready to go to school. My mom's still up and I go, Mom, did you go to bed? She goes, no, because I had to work. I had to do this. I had to do that. And I'm like, and I had a dad, who's now the mayor back home in Maui and being in the higher, because he has a greater being, who used to go after work security, all night long, 7 in the morning, come home, shower, basically go to work from 8 to 4, stop there, go 4 to 11. And in a 24-hour rotation, I'm like, Dad, this is not good for your health. You're not even sleeping. Well, son, how do you expect to have what you have? So it's the humble beginnings and understanding someone always has it worse than you. And stay positive. I mean, be positive. Get outside a little bit, even if it's walking outside your door, smelling that fresh air. No one wants to be cooped up. I don't want the smell of my house. I love my house. It's my heart. It's my soul. But I want to be outside. I want to, even if it's opening the door, smelling the fresh air, letting it go through your house. That's going to help us through these times. And staying positive and loving one another and spreading the law, David.
Aloha, my friend.
Yeah,
Shane
brother,
McGreener. You're amazing, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And appreciate you so much. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much again.
I love being in your locker room. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, man.
Right on. I have my locker right next to Shane. How awesome is that? I dreamed about playing with him for the Padres. Remember to, just like you said, you can frame it. Somebody always has it worse than you. And when you frame it that way, go do something for someone that doesn't have his worth from you. So shout out to the Air Force as well. We'll be joining them later today with Erica Nardini and all of the retired veterans and families. Got a great thing going on to help support them. Everybody out there, we are connected. Let's clear the connection between us and the most powerful light, love, and lessons. Remember, everybody, be kind to your future self. Do good deeds. It's going to be a great week. Join me. Text me, 949-298-2905. Email me, david@dmeltzer.com. 11 a.m. Fridays, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Free training. Get the replay if you haven't. Get my guides, my exercises, all for free. Please grab them. I'm here to help, to be of service as well. Be kind to your future self. Do good deeds. Have a great week. We'll see you later.